Hello, this video looks at the workflow option in CollectionsIndex Web Edition. Workflows are a function that can be added to your system to help guide users through procedures in a step-by-step process. This could be important for a number of reasons, not least ensuring that activities are followed to the correct standard. So let's have a quick look in our navigation menu here, and we can see all the different types of activity records that we can create in our system. And in theory, workflows can be created and linked to any of these activities. Let's pick our example today as object entry. Now, where workflows are enabled for an activity, instead of seeing create a new record, we're going to have an option instead to start a new workflow. So let's click here and start a new object entry workflow and get a feel for how workflows work. So we've started our object entry workflow. Now each workflow is built from a series of steps, and these operate a little bit like a flowchart. So we're almost never going to complete every single possible step within a workflow. Instead, we're going to pick a path through the workflow and just complete the steps relevant to our choices. So we've got a prime example here in the first step of the object entry workflow. This is a choice step. So whenever we see a step in our workflow, we'll have a title and a description, and then something for us to do below that. So in this case, we have objects expected or arrived, and we have to indicate whether we are preparing for the arrival of an expected object or whether or not the object has already arrived. So we're going to have to choose, and this will determine what steps we see next and what steps we have to complete. So let's say we are expecting our object, but it's not arrived yet. So here we go. We can see here now a bit of a summary of our workflow so far. Now we've completed the first step. We can see the step we've completed here with a short summary of who did the step and when and what the answers were. And we can see the tick to show we've completed this step. Below, the highlighted steps are incomplete. So that's a reminder they need to be done. They need to be tackled. And below that, we can see a summary of our activity record so far, which is obviously very sparse because we haven't gone a long way into this workflow. So let's see what other types of steps we might have to complete. So let's keep working our way through. So the next step is create entry record. Now this isn't a choice step like the previous one. This is actually asking us to input data, and we're seeing a miniature version of the edit form we might be used to seeing when we're editing and creating records outside of workflows. So this is asking us to enter some information about our object entry record. So we're going to give it an entry number. And we're just going to go through and just pick some basic information out. This is an authority linked field, so we're going to find an authority in our system. Pop a date in. Do any mandatory fields. We'll just complete there. That'll do for now. Now we have another choice. So another step which is going to determine what steps we have to do next. And this one is asking us whether or not we need to create new object records or whether or not we've already got the object records in our system and we can just link to those. Well, let's say that we do indeed need to create new object records. And here we see a new step has now appeared for us, which is that very link to the choice we just made, and now we're being asked to create a new object record for our entry. So again, this is another data entry style step, but rather than just add data to our object entry activity record, this is actually going to create a new object record in our system, and then that's going to link to our activity as a governed item. So we're going to click add up here to begin adding an object. Note we could add more objects if there's more than one object associated with this object entry activity. And again, I'm just going to go through and just pick, fill out, kind of all the kind of mandatory bits, just so we've got something to work with for this example. Again, this is just a miniature version of the relevant edit form. This time, the field you'd expect to see in the objects edit form. There we go. We've created an object. Our next step, prepare objects for arrival. And this is a new type of step we've not seen yet in this workflow. So this isn't giving us a choice, and it's not asking us to input data. It's basically asking us to record and confirm that we've done certain tasks before we continue. In this case, this is in the context of preparing for the object's arrival. So it's asking us to make sure we've got storage space identified, be prepared for condition checking or quarantine, be communicating with the depositor, briefing colleagues, and maybe arranging for condition checks before transport if that's required. So let's say we've done all that. And again, that's now marked complete. And again, it's recorded our answer. So you can see that everything that's been done here, anything that wasn't ticked wouldn't appear as part of that answer. So we'll be able to see what had and hadn't been done at that step. Let's move on. So the next step is print the object record form. Here's a slightly different type of step. It's giving us some instructions, and we can actually generate a report in our system to print off and use as an object entry form. I'm not going to do that now. I don't want to overcomplicate this video, but let's pretend we've done that and we've got an object entry form printed, ready to sign. And there we go. We've completed a whole section now of our workflow. We've completed this create entry record and receipts section. And we're now moving on to receive objects. And our first step here is depositor present ? And again, it's another choice step. Is our depositor present at object entry? Let's say yes, they are. And we'll just keep moving through these steps. So this is another checklist step, making sure that we've done all of these tasks before we mark this as complete. Again, this is in the context of filling out the object entry form on the day, so that we've done a condition statement, that the depositor understands the terms and conditions, that they've signed it, that we've signed it, that they've got a copy of the entry form as a receipt, and any other relevant information has also been captured. And a new step's opened up here, and this is the chance to update our entry record with any additional information that may have come out of physically doing the object entry form. We're now being asked to confirm the entry method, let's say in person. I don't think there's anything else that's mandatory there for us to fill out that's not already done. Let's carry on. And then we've already ticked in a previous step that we've given a copy of our entry form to the depositor. So we're just being asked to confirm that an entry form is also on file, and we also have a copy with the objects. So, all the places we'd expect to be sending these copies to. And that's it, another section completed. All our receive object steps that are relevant in our workflow have been done. And we've got one final section opened up here, which is processing our objects, which are newly arrived. So again, just another kind of checklist step to remind us to attach the entry number to the object. And really, we should only complete once we've done that. So let's do that now. And then identify next procedure. So what happens next? We're almost finished with our object entry. It's arrived, we've filled in the details, we've done the entry form. So what's next? Well, in this case, we're actually thinking of acquiring this object. So we're going to make a choice here, another sort of choosing step. We're going to say, well, actually, we are interested in acquisition. So we just follow these steps through again. And again, now it's asking us to choose how we want to undertake our acquisition procedure. Do we want to create a new workflow that's linked to this one, or do we want to take another option? Well, actually, yes, we want to take the option of creating a new linked workflow for acquisition, which is going to link to our object entry workflow, which is going to be really handy for just making sure all these things reference each other in a very neat way. And then that's because we've chosen to do it that way. We've now got another step which will create effectively an empty acquisition workflow for us to pick up and follow. So we click this. That's been done. And we've finished our object entry workflow. We've completed all the steps available to us. We can see any information we recorded for the object entry record here. So we can see the depositor information, the entry method, why it came in. Obviously, we've got an amendment history here of everything we did during our workflow. And we can see the governed item that we created during our workflow as well here. And we can see a linked activity. So that acquisition procedure that we created towards the end of our workflow is now here, ready for us to begin and fill out. And we could, if we wanted, click on the name, so far untitled, name of this procedure, and we could begin that workflow. And that's what we're going to do in our next video. We're going to follow this acquisition activity, and we're going to see how that workflow works and see an example of how different users and different user roles can be used to control who can and can't complete different aspects of a workflow. But that's it for now. If you have any questions about getting workflows onto your system and making them work for you, please do get in touch. And as ever, if you've got any other queries or questions regarding Collections Index, do let us know. Otherwise, thank you for now.